Hi, Zizaran here with another League starter for 327 Keepers of the Flame, and this is a Earthshatter Slayer with Carn. Earthshatter, super popular build. This is going to be one of the strongest starters that you could possibly do, and this is one of the builds I recommend the most. Whether you choose Juggernaut, Berserker, or Slayer, they're all super potent, but Earthshatter is just such a powerhouse of a skill, and you know that you are not going to get left behind in the economy. However, not everybody wants to play Earthshatter, completely understand that, but if you want one of the best starts you could possibly wish for this season, this is going to be an excellent pick for that. It is super solo self-on viable, hardcore viable. You'll be able to do everything super early, though it does come online incredibly fast, so if you set yourself well up with this build, it's dreamy. Now, next up, let's hear from Carn about how the build plays.
Alright, so the build is pretty simple to play. When you're mapping, all you're really doing is lip samming for movement, attacking with Earthshatter, and using war cries to detonate the Earthshatter spikes you put down. That's where your damage comes from. Now for bossing, nothing changes there. It is mostly the same. You will just attack 3 times to put the maximum number of spikes on the ground, and then use your war cries to detonate the spikes. Now one thing to know about Tainted Pact, that the way it works, it makes the chaos damage over time that you take heal you instead. So the way this works is that we're gonna use Golden Rule to reflect the poisons we inflict through various proven chance on weapon and glove impulses and whatnot, and they will get reflected to us, which will heal us for basically infinite recovery. One thing to keep in mind is that you absolutely need to be leeching. If you are not leeching, you will kill yourself, and that's why we use the breaching jar, so that we can just spawn worms before when the map starts to attack them and gain leech. That way, even if the first monster pack you encounter in the map is immune to leech, you will still not kill yourself.
If you find our builds useful for League Start, please consider subscribing and sharing the build. It helps us out a lot. And another great thing about this build is that Carn himself is League starting this, so you will be able to jump in, ask him any questions if you are struggling with anything on the build, and there's not going to be any problem that he won't be able to help you fix. So having Carn as a resource is super great for that. For this build, we are using Path of Building, super important third-party tool that we always use. You do need this to follow along. You can get in the description, as well as I have a separate video that fully explains POB if you aren't familiar with it. As you can see here, it's super easy. Carn's put a lot of effort in and made it super step-by-step, the normal system that we're all used to. So it's easy to see. You're not going to get lost. Obviously, you see your ascendancies as well as you level. So just incredibly easy to follow. Slayer, obviously so nice. You get all that recovery. You get loads of damage reduction. AoE, it's an ascendancy that really gives a lot. We are using loadouts as well, so loadouts do sync up a tree with skills and items. And speaking of skills, for leveling, you can choose to level Spectral Throw until level 12, or Ground Slam. It's a bit of a preference thing there. Chance to bleed, Ground Slam, and Maim is fine as well. But either way, at level 12, you get the powerhouse that is Sunder, and Sunder is just incredibly good. Normally, you swap after you have been in Merc Lab for a little bit. I usually recommend getting 20 quality on your Earthshatter before you swap. And it is a really wonderful build. Next up, if we go to gear, early on, super easy. All you're looking for is weapons with percentage physical damage to attacks and physical damage. And let me show you axes real quick on PoEDB. So here you can look at the different base types. So high attack speed feels really good for leveling. I usually avoid switching whenever there's Jasper Chopper. I usually avoid switching to those while leveling just because my leap slam is slower, but obviously they will be pretty okay for damage nonetheless. So try to keep yourself, if you're just turned 41, then Timber Axe is going to be a nice upgrade. And I do have a separate video covering how to craft axes, and it's incredibly easy as well. And there's a bunch of notes. We'll go over some of those. But very easy build to start with. It's just life and resist for everything. There's no crazy uniques you need. For example, you can pick up a Hinokora Sight. These are usually super cheap, like 1C, just to get yourself a bunch of accuracy. for your precise technique. I'll explain that in a sec. And then later you can get a replica hidden core site. This comes from Heist, which is going to be a lot more accessible and popular this thing. But this one's just a better version of the normal one. So quite a lot to do with this build. And obviously Carn explained how Tainted Pact works at the start. And that just gives you so much recovery. Anything that doesn't kill a Slayer instantly can't kill a Slayer. Like you're never ever gonna die to like a slow degen when your leech is up. It's just insane leech. Carn also put a lot of effort into like general tips like bandits, pantheon, and like here there's some tips about endurance charges, leveling, etc. And obviously watching Carn at League Start, you'll pick up a lot of leveling tips there as well, and a written version of axe crafting. But if you need even more handholding and you feel like the nodes aren't enough and you really like to prepare for League Start, Carn is a max roll creator as well and has written a super step-by-step, really handholdy max roll guide. So make sure you check that out. He puts a lot of effort into it and can be a valuable resource for your start. Carn, tell me some downsides of the build.
Well, I guess the main downside that most people will find with the build is that you have to press a few buttons. You have 3 war cries on the setup that I like to go for that you have to press manually. You still can, if you want, choose to automate more than the 2 that I normally automate, and that will cost you an extra aura. You will have to probably drop Pride, use Herald of Purity instead, and add another auto exit setup for 1 or 2 extra war cries you might want to automate. But besides that, there are not really any downside. I would say that maybe the damage at the very, very top end can be a little bit low compared to the things that we used to see, for example, if you play a C-Trade. The ceiling basically on the damage scaling for slams is not extremely high, but it is still more than enough to do all the content in the game very comfortably. The one problem with Tainted Pact is that there's only one problem. If you poison yourself and you're not leeching, you will die. So the way Tainted Pact works is the chaos damage over time you take will heal you instead. So that's why we use Golden Rule, gets a poison chance, and we will just poison monsters. The Golden Rule will reflect the poisons to us, but the poisons will not do damage, they will heal us instead, which gives us pretty much infinite recovery. But the only problem is, when you start a map, if the first monster pack you attack is a monster that cannot be leeched from, you will poison yourself and you'll not be leeching, so you will die instantly. So the way we prevent this from ever happening is we just use the Riting Jar. It will spawn worms that you will attack. They will give you 10-second leech, and you'll be safe. You'll be good to go, and nothing can kill you.
So I guess for the Tainted Pact axe, it's scary to actually unveil the prefix then, right? Because it's like I guess you're kind of unlikely to get exactly the poison chance one you want.
Yes, you actually have to try to. You can also just choose to multi-mod and just craft it. And that is the safe option for your first axe if you want to play Tainted Pact. I recommend doing that. And then later on, you can just aim for the Unveil, which is better, obviously.
So, Carn, what about the Bloodline Ascendancies? Any use for those?
Recommend going for is a Schizophrenic Dissociation. It comes with the downside that you cannot use jewels outside of your cluster jewels. That is a big downside normally, but in this case, we play slams, and for slams, you get very little power from your jewels. You don't really care too much about timeless jewels. The biggest loss is probably a Light of Meaning, and besides that, it's not a big deal. So you basically get 40% damage reduction for pretty much free, because the other downside, which delays 40% of the damage you take from these hits by 4 seconds, is also irrelevant because you're a Slayer, so you have a ton of recovery, and by the time that Aftershock damage happens, you will have recovered all of it, and it is going to be a non-issue whatsoever. And it synergizes really, really well with just having good recovery. Awesome. If you want, you can also go for the Trial Master Ascendancy, and specifically the Corruption's Embrace node. Now, that one I think is just a lot more endgame. You need to corrupt pretty much like a big portion of your gear. Like 8 items needs to be corrupted, but it gives you an absurd amount of defense. You get 5% maximum res. You get Blood Bear, which is 30% more life effectively. And Slayer is actually pretty well equipped to have that bear up relatively consistently. That being said, it's something very endgame, very particular, so I do not have it in the PB, but this is an option we can go for in the very endgame.
So again, that was Earthshatter Slayer, and Carn is league starting that himself. So make sure you drop by, give him some love, and if you do need any help with the build, Carn is your guy. He is the Slayer main. So if you want a really solid start to your league start, this is definitely going to. You can't really go wrong with this. So hope you guys enjoyed watching the build. Thanks so much for watching. Sub if you like it, but more importantly, try to die less than we do.